Welcome. It's Josh Bentley and Menina Chow.
Hey.
We are back to guide you through the next 3 hours of Tech Ed on our final day. There's only 6 hours left, Menina, so...
Time flies.
I know. So we've got a lot to cover today. I've been looking forward to these 3 hours because starting out in mobility, a lot of my friends are going to be talking with us later on, and then we have some community talks. So let me go through the whole day. 2 community talks are coming up. We're going to have the first one with Sascha, and it's going to be a great community talk that you're going to lead some question and answer, and then we have another one coming up after that with Wouter.
Right.
And when we do these 2 community talks, it's going to be live, great conversation. We have a lot of great questions and answers that are set up for the audience. I think you're going to really enjoy those. And after that, we're going to have a social media check-in. I believe it's Lena today, right?
It is.
So we have Mamiki, who's been helping us out and doing a lot of great remote check-ins and social media wall. And today we have Lena back with us. I can't wait to talk with her. And after the community talks that we do with Sascha and Wouter and the social media, we're going to jump into an activity break where we're going to talk about some things you can do at your desk to help you feel more relaxed and be better overall in your wellness. We'll talk later about how I'm not good at that sometimes.
First.
I'm very good at drinking coffee, though, as everyone on set knows, and I appreciate them for that. And then I think we're going to lead into a couple of other great hours that you and I are leading with Devtoberfest. We have a couple of people that really were active in Devtoberfest. They're going to be with us, chatting live about their experience, and I could talk forever about it, right? Because I was part of the team that did Devtoberfest and helped organize and create it. So I have to be careful that I don't get overexcited and give away too much of what we're going to talk about. And then that leads us into our last intelligent integration hour. And as I mentioned, we're going to talk about some mobile stuff as well as UX. And we've got Benedict Lehnert joining us, who is our new CDO, Chief Design Officer for SAP. So that's going to be a great strategy talk with him, Q&A, and a whole full hour with customer as well joining us. I believe that's Frosta.
Yep.
Who will be joining us in that hour. So I did all of this, no card's blank, right? There's nothing on it.
You're
so
brilliant.
You
don't have to do anything.
And then I also wanted to mention, this is the last 6 hours. So after me and Menina, you've got Rui and Cecilia coming up to close the show out. And this has been an amazing sandwich of content that we've had between the beginning and end with Cecilia and Rui kicking us off. And they're going to finish with app dev and integration, SAP Rise, and then a closing hour where they're going to recap all the exciting things that have happened and lead us hopefully into an in-person Tech Ed next year.
Oh, yeah.
So.
And I know it's been a lot of sessions for you. I don't know how many sessions you've attended, but let us know how it went. Did you have any follow-up questions? The developer advocates team, Josh's team, was doing a great job chatting with you guys and answering questions. But I also know that they have been transferring some of the follow-up conversations into the SAP Tech Ed group. So if there's anything that you want to follow up on, then just go to the SAP Tech Ed group and have the conversations on the sessions that you attended. Yeah,
I know there's a cat running around as well. Yeah. He has his own group in the groups feature.
Casimir has its own group. He has the entire space.
I like to mention his name 2 or 3 times, and all of a sudden he just pops up behind us.
Let me know if you see him, because I always am blind. I don't see him. I don't know why. I'm too
literally
probably
right behind you as you're talking, which cracks me up. It's right there.
And I think I know why, because the attention seeker is here with me.
Oh,
no.
Me? Never. I did get a little feedback from my friends and family, and they said I wasn't acting. So I guess I did good.
What does that mean?
It's just being myself and getting attention.
Yeah.
No, I think the developer keynote went over very well. I think we talked about it ahead of time, being for developers, by developers. A lot of technology was featured. I talked about Kima. There was a session that came live, I think, about 2 hours ago now, and Marco Dorn was promoting that. So it was about building extensions with Kima, and Gaurav walked through the GitHub stuff that was out there and that you could actually follow him as he was building. So really cool stuff that happened during the keynote from all the technologies, but of course, I like
Really cool. Well, then let's now hear from a community member.
Yeah.
Community member that's waiting in line already for his community talk. So let's hear from Sascha Wenninger, who's dialing in from Singapore, about his topic, access your Fiori apps from any device without compromising on security or spending money. Sascha, welcome with us at Channel 1. Hey.
Hi,
Good to have
hello,
you.
thanks for having me.
Hey.
Hey, Sascha.
Good to be back at TechEd after, I guess, a year of not having a lot of technical content to look at. So it's great to have you back.
Really cool. Let's jump into the topic, right? So tell us about the specific problem you faced with remote access.
Yeah, look, I guess at the start of COVID, right, a lot of companies shifted to much more remote work than they normally used to. And a lot of organizations struggled with just bandwidth of the VPN systems being overloaded and access to their on-premises SAP systems. So the company I was working for, multinational, had very much the same problems. All of a sudden, their usage of the VPN went through the roof, and they really struggled with congestion on that, and it was impacting access to SharePoint and Teams and the SAP systems as well. So we started to look for some solutions that allowed us to still access the on-premises applications in a secure way without necessarily having that bottleneck. And we also had a strategy of having much more access from iPads and personal devices and mobile phones into the Fiori launchpad that we were building at the time. So those two things kind of came together, and we started to look for some solutions that would enable that, but also were secure. And there's a lot of talk in the media about companies that had security compromises and they were being hacked because they rushed into remote access solutions that weren't ticking these boxes from a security perspective. So we didn't want to be that victim either at the time.
No one wants to be, right, Sascha? So I think that's a lot to worry about. And was that something that already existed in the landscape? You guys were already using that in Azure or not?
Some things we were, some things we were not. So we were kind of in the middle of a transition from a traditional ECC system to an S4HANA that was much more Fiori heavy. And we had already started using Azure. We had some workloads running in Azure, some workloads running in AWS. And obviously Office 365, most companies would have that. So there's a level of footprint in Azure at that point in time already.
Perfect.
Sorry, go on.
No, I was just saying perfect. I'm definitely following that, and I think it's very important to keep up with that. You could finish that answer, or was ready for another question?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Yeah. Will this still work for SAP systems running on-premise?
Yeah. So look, there's some Azure components that are required for it, but where the SAP systems are actually living on premises or a different cloud is less important to that. So the identity store is linked to Azure, so Azure Active Directory, which companies would already use if they're using Office 365 or Teams. But you just need a small bit of software called the connector that you install close to your SAP systems, whether they're on premises or running in AWS. And that facilitates the communication with the Microsoft infrastructure that's the internet-facing side that enables that reverse access into the network.
Okay, so let me ask about, is this limited to the Azure systems then? And are there prerequisites you had to load to make it work?
No, not really limited to Azure as such. So one of the prerequisites is that you do have Azure Active Directory in place. A lot of companies would have that already by virtue of using Office 365, which is very, very closely linked to that. And that's pretty much the only prerequisite. So the reverse proxy solution, the Azure App Proxy, is a feature of Azure AD that you automatically have access to if you have Azure AD deployed and you have the license for that. So that allows you to have secure web-based access from the internet coming into your networks with security controls being provided by Microsoft and exposing your Fiori Launchpad and your Fiori applications out to browsers that sit outside the network. And importantly, you bypass your traditional VPNs with this. So you can just type in the URL of your Fiori Launchpad into any browser, authenticate in, and you're as good as if you were in the office.
Okay.
Also, one little follow-up to that one, and I know Menina has another question, but are these things standard-based? Like, is there documentation that every company is using it the same way, or is this something that everybody has to figure out on their own?
Yeah, look, one of the really nice things about the Azure platform is that documentation is actually really solid. There's a lot of documentation available on docs.microsoft.com about setting this up, deploying it, maintaining it, and configuring it. The configuration itself is actually pretty straightforward as well. One of the nice things about this particular technology, the Azure App Proxy, is that there aren't so many different configuration toggles and switches that you have to get right. So a lot of companies will be able to do this in a secure way without engaging consultants or without spending a lot of money on the implementation side of things. Now, it's really like a lot of other cloud products. The choices that you have to make are a little bit constrained by the cloud provider. A lot of defaults are being provided to you that are useful and sensible, and therefore the ability to deploy something quickly is enhanced. So it's been a pretty positive setup experience to do.
Now, how about security? How did you prove that it was secure?
Yeah, look, so just reviewing the documentation, we could see that there were no holes required in the corporate firewall. We didn't have to have public IP addresses that would be exposed from our internal network infrastructure out to the internet. And it works, we discovered, in very similar way to the SAP Cloud Connector that we're all familiar with too. So it's a component that runs in your on-premises environment. It makes an outbound connection to the Microsoft infrastructure only, so that there's no inbound traffic, there's no holes in the firewall required. And the Microsoft infrastructure sits there and protects the inbound access for that. So users that want to access the resources have to first authenticate to the Microsoft infrastructure. And once that passes, they are allowed through that tunnel that's established into the connector. Very, very similar to SAP Cloud Connector. So an outbound connection only from your network, and then through that connection, all of the traffic is being tunneled. We also had a third-party penetration testing company come and have a look at that as well. So they ran a barrage of tests against it and gave us all of the tick boxes to make sure that that was secure and we were not being exposed to it.
Thanks, Sascha.
Microsoft also talks quite a lot about their security practices and how much money they're investing on that front. So the Azure Application Proxy also has some special features like DDoS prevention that help absorb traffic spikes. And they do inspect the traffic itself for anything that looks a bit dodgy as well. So there are added layers of protection on that, which has been pretty useful.
Looks dodgy like me, Menina.
Yeah. So tell us, Sascha, what challenges did you face?
Yeah, look, when we first started off with, there was a really strange technical limitation with it, in that the region, the geographic region in which the internet-facing component of that reverse proxy was deployed was hard-coded, I guess, to the same geography that your Azure AD tenant exists in. And it's kind of arcane, but it was very fixed and rigid. And as I mentioned, a lot of organizations would have Azure AD because of Office 365. They would have had Office 365 for a really long time. So maybe that particular geography was chosen for technical limitations at the time, maybe 10 years ago, that no longer existed. So at that time, that was pretty inconvenient. It could not be changed. We engaged with Microsoft engineering on this, and within the course of our kind of COVID emergency, I suppose, they were able to implement a feature that allowed us to change that. So we were able to improve the performance of that reverse proxy access quite a bit by moving it into a geographic region that was more appropriate. One other challenge we faced is again a very technical topic, is about timeouts. So we had some issues with very, very long-running reports that took too long for the infrastructure to still think that the system was alive. Basically, the infrastructure thought, oh, well, SAP has crashed because the reports run too long. So we had some of those issues, but we were able to resolve most of those just by having a look at the actual reports and making them run faster, which also helped with the user experience too.
Awesome. So I don't know how much detail you can go into this, but what does it cost?
Well, funnily enough, this is one of those products that's actually more or less free. So it's not something you have to purchase and install, and there's a usage fee for it. It's a product that's part of Azure Active Directory. Now, there is a license that you have to have for Azure Active Directory, but you'll find that most enterprises have it already bundled into their Office 365 offering. So the marginal cost of implementing that is zero. The cost of the bandwidth is mostly on the Microsoft side, which you don't have to pay for. And there could be some small bandwidth charges into and out of your Azure or AWS environments, but they're really, really minor compared to third-party solutions that you have to pay thousands of dollars for licensing for.
Okay, then let me ask a follow-up about the licenses. Besides that, what's your view of the ongoing total cost of ownership and how difficult this is to maintain? How many people? There's no infrastructure, or is there special infrastructure? Like, what goes into the whole TCO?
Yeah, good question. So look, it's pretty close to a platform as a service solution, as close as you can get to that. The tricky part, the internet-facing things that require security controls and monitoring, they are set and forget. You configure them once and you don't have to touch them again. The connector servers that you have to install internally, so similar to the SAP Cloud Connector, you do have to run them in your infrastructure, so you have to have a small server for that. But they also auto-update themselves, so once you've installed them, it's honestly as close to a set and forget solution as you're going to find.
Okay, cool. Menina, you got any more?
Yeah. Did you explore alternatives before settling on this?
Yeah, look, we did. We looked at another third-party solution that we actually already had in the environment, but we faced some problems configuring that to work with SAP Analytics Cloud, which we're also deploying. And we found that it was actually really complicated for us to understand the setup and to try and get it right. So we had to involve a consultant for that exercise, and we had to then look at a fairly significant software maintenance bill for the actual software itself. So comparing that with something that was much easier to maintain and effectively free made it a pretty simple choice for us.
All right, so I think I have one more question. We don't have a lot of time left, so we might want to rush through this answer, but what about customers who don't have a lot of Fiori apps? What can they do with this?
Yeah, okay, so that's a little bit of a problem, I guess, right? So traditional SAP GUI, being a proprietary SAP protocol, doesn't lend itself to web-based setups that you need for reverse proxies. But one nice kind of workaround is actually the GUI for HTML. So we ended up using quite a lot of that for traditional GUI transactions, running SAP GUI in a browser. So 5 or 6 or 7 years ago, that was a kind of a scary proposition. It was technically not very elegant and it was pretty slow and heavyweight. But things have really improved. So with S/4HANA 1809 onwards, it's actually a really nice experience. It's pretty fast and performant, and really almost every single transaction will work. Maybe not SE80, but I know we're all now using Clips anyway, so SE80 is no longer the important transaction it used to.
I got to go find my TP01 after this trip. So I think that's it for the questions that I had. Menina, do you have anything else, or you want to give a wrap-up?
All good. Thank you, Sascha, for taking the time, dialing in, and having this interview with us, and hope the audience could get something out of it as well.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. All right.
Then, should we get our next candidate in?
I think we need to take a second here and just reset our minds and go all the information we just downloaded into our brains about that and get the audience ready for another community talk. We're doing another 15 minutes, I think. So we're going to be talking with another special guest. And this one is Wouter, I believe, right?
Wouter.
Nice. We ready? Welcome, Wouter.
Hey.
Hi, Menina. Hi, Josh.
Good to see you.
Hello, hello. Where are you located,
Thank you.
Wouter?
I'm located just outside Brussels in Belgium.
Nice. Nice. And what's your role? What do you do?
I'm mainly a developer, but besides developing, I'm also part, doing architectural things as a kind of solution architect for Fiori, business technology platform, and sometimes even ABAP.
Nice. Well, the ABAP audience out there loved hearing that. Are you looking forward to embedded steampunk?
Yeah, definitely.
Nice.
Definitely.
All right. But that's not the subject for today. I think we have something else to talk about. Menina, do you want to kick it off with the first question?
Yes. First question, what is TypeScript?
Okay, TypeScript is nothing new. You probably heard of it before, even before this interview, even before it was supported by UI5. So TypeScript already exists, and you could say it's proven technology. But the framework or the library, in this case UI5, it needs to support TypeScript. Otherwise, you cannot use it. But what is TypeScript? TypeScript is a superset of JavaScript which adds optional static types to the language. And yeah, this is a very theoretical definition. You will find it everywhere on the internet. But what it basically means, in simple terms, it means that TypeScript is JavaScript with types. And so if you have used JavaScript before, like in UI5, you probably have used JavaScript, you notice that it's untyped. And untyped, I mean, if you have a variable and you put in a string or something else, and afterwards in your code, you change that variable and you put in a number, JavaScript will not complain because it's untyped. Now, with TypeScript, this won't be possible anymore because everything is type and it has a type. So if you have a string and you would like to change it afterwards to a number, TypeScript will complain and it will say, hey, you cannot do this, and it will raise an error. It will give this error at the time that you're developing, not at the time that you're running the app. So in the end, it will help you to avoid making mistakes because JavaScript, it's untyped, which is cool, which is very awesome. It allows you to do great stuff. But it's also the main reason that we make mistakes in JavaScript. And with TypeScript, this is it will help us to avoid making those mistakes.
Nice.
And another thing, indeed, that's nice. Another thing that comes with TypeScript, it comes closer to other languages. It comes closer to Java, C#, and I would even say it comes closer to ABAP. So if you're coming from an ABAP background, it might be easier to learn TypeScript than JavaScript. And one last thing, TypeScript comes with a compiler. It compiles TypeScript to JavaScript. And this actually means that we can run every TypeScript application where JavaScript runs. So we can run it in every browser. We can run it on Node.js. Everywhere where JavaScript runs, we can run our TypeScript application. So very simple to answer your question. TypeScript is just JavaScript, but then with types.
No, it doesn't have to be a simple answer, Wouter, because it's a pretty technical conversation, especially like you mentioned with ABAP, and a lot of developers love that the business logic is built into the actual language. So it's kind of like you're thinking about what your app's going to do when you compile it and run it. So I very much agree, but I want to go a little deeper. What does this mean for UI5?
What does it mean for UI5? Like I said in the beginning, the framework needs to support this, and which was not the case for UI5 until beginning of this year, April. So there are two ways that the framework can support TypeScript. And obviously, the framework can be created in TypeScript. Like, for example, the Cloud Application Programming Model. It's created in TypeScript, compiled to JavaScript, so you can use it with JavaScript and with TypeScript. But for UI5, it's different. The framework already existed for years, so it's not possible to just rewrite it in TypeScript. So there is another solution. The other solution is providing type definition files or semantic type files. Those files complete the JavaScript to make it compatible with TypeScript. So for example, if you have a function in JavaScript and you would like to make it compatible to TypeScript, you can create some kind of a type definition file where you say, hey, this function has only one argument with the type string, and it will always return a value of the type Boolean. And that's what you put then in this type definition file. And this will allow you to use that function from JavaScript in a TypeScript project. And that's exactly what the UI5 team did. So they are now providing those type definition files. Changing the complete framework would be insane to do so. Also, creating those type definition files, I think it also took a lot of effort. But if I understood correctly, they generate this on top of the JavaScript documentation, which is already inside the framework.
Okay.
So,
I think I have one more follow-up then about the UI5 community, because you mentioned that. What does it mean for the UI5 team?
What it means for the UI5 team, they provide those type definition files, and it means that we can now start using TypeScript for building our UI5 apps.
Perfect. And the benefits of this for developing those apps would be?
First of all, it's super cool to use TypeScript. But okay, that's not an argument to use TypeScript. One of the main benefits is that it will improve the quality of your code. Because of the types, just because of adding those types, it will immediately already make it more readable. That's one thing. But okay, making it more readable is not only improving the quality of your code, but it will help you avoid making mistakes. And because it immediately, when you make the mistake, it will already point you to warnings or errors, which sometimes only occurs when you run the code. And second, the developer experience is just so nice. The auto-completion, okay, we have auto-completion since Web IDE, but it's not always 100%. Now with TypeScript, this is complete. This is working so nice. Because of the types, it knows everything of the framework, and it can provide perfect auto-completion. And next to that, you don't need to look into the API documentation. The API documentation is inside your IDE because TypeScript knows the framework, it knows all the types, and it knows everything about the types inside your IDE. So there are plenty of benefits, but I need to be honest, I was also skeptical in the beginning. With JavaScript being untyped, you can really do cool stuff. You can change something from an array to an object to a string and put it all in the same variable. With TypeScript, this is a little bit harder because it comes with types. Everything needs to be types. But if you understand the complex concepts of TypeScript, you will notice that everything that you could do in JavaScript is also possible in TypeScript. It might be a bit harder, but once you learn it, once you go to TypeScript, you don't want to go back.
No pain, no gain.
Yeah, indeed.
So Wouter, which IDE do you use?
Yeah, as I mentioned, we had Web IDE, but I would advise you if you go this way with TypeScript, it's really time to make the switch away from Web IDE. And I'm not even sure if it's possible in Web IDE to use TypeScript. The main and the favorite IDE that I use at the moment is Visual Studio Code. And it's maybe strange to say because I wasn't always a fan of the big Microsoft Studio version, but Visual Studio Code is a lightweight version, and it's really nice, especially when using TypeScript. But sometimes in companies, because of company policies, it's not always possible to get everything installed because you need to install Visual Studio Code, you need to install Node.js, Git, and so many more packages that you need to install. And maybe this is not allowed by the company policies. And then Business Application Studio is a good alternative. It looks very similar to Visual Studio Code, but it's based on Eclipse. And it has the possibility to plug in features from Visual Studio Code.
Yeah, a lot of people on our teams are using VS Code, so definitely very popular here within SAP. Would you say it works with any version then of UI5?
That's a tricky one. So I mentioned that the type definition files are generated, and those are generated on the JavaScript documentation inside the framework. But if I understood correctly from the UI5 team, they had to improve the JavaScript documentation for this generator. And they started generating the type definition files from 1.90. So to be correct, you can start from 1.90. But in projects I was involved, we already started with lower versions. And it's possible to do it already before. But there could be a difference between the types and the actual version that you're using. So then there could be a mismatch that TypeScript says you have an error or a warning, which is actually not an error for your version. So yeah, we did it. So I would say yes, you can use it, but you need to be careful.
Okay, so Wouter, what is the learning curve? Can you tell us?
Yeah, it's easy to get started. The basics of TypeScript are really straightforward, like any other language, like in Java or C# or ABAP. It's straightforward. You have variables, you can define a type. The syntax is a little bit different. So there, I would say there's learning curve is low. But as soon as you really start to do more complex things, yeah, then it's harder. And then I would say it comes with a small learning curve. If you want to create some generic code, it's more complex compared to JavaScript. So don't underestimate this. And personally, I started following a course on Udemy, which I really do recommend to follow when you start using TypeScript.
Okay, so Wouter, you went to this class, you learned some stuff. Did you find any limitations for using it?
Yeah, a few, but that was because, we started using it immediately as soon as SAP at the UI5 team announced TypeScript support. And back then we had no templates. Yeah, maybe we are spoiled by SAP because of all those templates that we have since Web IDE and those generators. There was no template yet for TypeScript. But in the meanwhile, there is one in the Easy UI5 generator from your colleague, by the way. We are also missing some official documentation, but again, that's because of it's an early stage. And what I miss a lot is some recommendations and best practices to use UI5 in combination with TypeScript to the fullest, to really get and use full capabilities of TypeScript in UI5. But I guess that will come over time. But then we really face some problems when we try to include our UI5 library, because it was not TypeScript, but we had like a central UI5 library where we put in everything, not only controls, everything that we could reuse, we put it in this library. But it was not TypeScript, and there is no way to then include it without having errors. But in the meanwhile, I think there is a community project from someone from the community to generate this, but I haven't tried it out yet. We also face some challenges integrating third-party libraries, not UI5 libraries, which for some reason it worked while developing, but not while running. But again, here, a few weeks ago, I found a GitHub repository from Peter Musig, where he explains a solution for this.
Nice.
So yeah, there are some limitations, but in the meanwhile, they are getting solved step by step.
Cool.
And what would you say is the biggest challenge that you faced?
Yeah, the biggest challenge is using TypeScript to the fullest in combination with UI5. How can we really benefit from those types? How can we bring the way we develop apps to the next level by using TypeScript? I think I found a quite well solution to do this, which I will share afterwards in a few blog posts coming weeks. But everyone feel free to look at it, provide feedback, and maybe help me improve the way and help me providing some recommendations, some best practices on how we really could use TypeScript to the fullest in UI5.
For sure. I mean, when you talked about, you write a blog post and people can ask questions and answer, and really just like community open source code, it gets better the more people that have a dialogue about it. If you were to have like behind you right now written on the wall though, what would your mantra, what would your slogan be for everybody that's listening if you could wrap that up in the last 20 seconds here?
just start using TypeScript, but don't underestimate it.
Nice. I like that. So I can't thank you enough for this. This was, I mean, that flew by. That was like, it felt like 3 seconds how fast we covered so much information. So everybody in the community, please look for Wouter's blog post and keep helping make TypeScript better. Thank you, Wouter.
Thank you, Wouter. Bye.
Thank you for having me, and super cool.
It was good to have you here too. Wouter is, by the way, an SAP mentor, one of our top influencers of the community. And Sascha is also a very active community member. Both are also in social media. And speaking of social media, I think it's time again to have some looks into the social media wall with Lena. So let's welcome Lena on the floor with us. Hey.
Hello, I'm back again.
Hey.
Glad to be here with you in the living room, guys.
For sure.
You actually posted this morning a selfie of you before you headed to the studio, right?
Is it a selfie if there's 2 of us in it?
Yes. What else would it be? A photo just?
It's a bothy, right? It was both of us.
Oh, I haven't known that it actually existed.
I don't know.
It's creative.
Bothy.
Yeah, I just made that up.
We just termed a new word here. Bothy.
Hashtag bothy.
Hashtag Bothy.
Yeah.
Let's get that one running the last couple of hours in social media, guys. That is so cool.
It's probably a trademark somewhere.
Okay, I'll take it back then. Okay, no, I will get started with the social media wall check-in, guys. So I want to highlight Simon Ives. He posted a couple of tweets this morning, one of which is he asked you guys, how good is the Deliver an Integrated Employee Experience session at SAP TechEd? He found the conversation around safety data coupled with SuccessFactors data very relevant and inspiring. It was actually the one with our SAP mentor, Chris Payne, this morning. He also tweeted that he is now having a real presentation envy after watching the Delve into the latest on ABAP session earlier today. I missed that session, Simon, I have to rewatch that, but you said, okay, well done to that session. That was a great session. Thanks for sharing, Simon. Continue doing so. The next one is a really funny one that Chris actually posted on the meditation session that we had earlier with Nathaniel Drew, our YouTuber. So he watched it without audio. And that was exactly the part where Kim, who interviewed Nathaniel, did the meditation herself. And that looked a little bit like she was falling asleep, which of course she didn't do. But that is really, really a cool one, a funny one. Thanks for sharing, Chris. And just turn on the audio. That is my hint for you there. Then Ruth Nick, one of our SAP community members, asked you guys, so when was the first time that you heard about and or saw SAP? And can you remember those early days of your career? He posted that with hashtag SAP TechEd, hashtag SAP Community on Twitter. He also posted it in our SAP Coffee Corner group. So our groups we just recently launched mid-October. We have 3 groups already. So the Coffee Corner group, our SAP TechEd group, and our SAP Learning group with the topic of SAP BTP Learning. There is posts in there like take advantage of the SAP TechEd exclusive SAP certification exam discount and or SAP AppGyver in US East region. Go check out that new group. We just launched it on Monday. Of course, in the SAP TechEd group, there's a lot of going on with our Casimir cat, with My Virtual Journey just started now. Tammy Polis posted that there. SAP TechEd Memories, SAP Career Advices and insights into how to get started with SAP, etc. And the Coffee Corner group is really more for sharing off-topic, really getting to know each other. Jokes Corner, really, really cool. Everything about cars. Whoever is into cars, go and check out that thread or post. What's your favorite dish or snack? That was a very important and favorite one of yours. And suggestions to do in Munich. So whenever you're in Munich, have a look. There is a lot of suggestions in there already.
I can't tell if Casimir's literally typing everything you're saying. He's feverishly back there banging away. And we always say making biscuits, like when you're kneading dough. Like you're actually mixing flour and water together and like a cat pushes on your body making biscuits.
Oh, yeah.
It looks, I don't know if there's a German phrase for it, but he's banging away.
I don't know, but I know exactly what you're talking about because my mom has a cat as well, so.
Is that like a massage or what would you say?
Yeah, a little bit. A little bit. With claws.
Yeah, it feels kind of good. Okay. Let's continue. Elena posted that she is starting her morning with hashtag SAP TechEd. She's sharing this screenshot here from the Managed Sustainability with SAP Solution sessions earlier today. It's extremely interesting, the demo on SAP Solutions and how it applies the hashtag WEF framework. Spoiler alert, it's all about data. Yeah, it's all about data, and it's all about you, hashtag you. I haven't seen that hashtag too often, so this event is for you. It's a community event, it's a tech education event for you guys, so please continue tagging us with all the tags. You know them already, I don't have to say them again, but there's another one that you used heavily already, the hashtag UTFRW, and Helmut Tammen posted that he just finished his hashtag UTFRW run in Braunschweig, Germany, within the SAP time frame. So good job on the timing there, Helmut. You also said that it was your first run without pain for months. I'm sorry to hear that. I hope you're doing fine. I hope the injury wasn't a bad one. But I like that you also said or stated that it must have been because of the endorphins that SAP TechEd produces. That is great. I like that sentence. And also, you gave a compliment to everyone here at SAP. So you, SAP guys, do a great job. Carry on. I can give that both back to you guys.
Oh, that's
you
nice.
did a great job
Thank you
so far.
so much.
Thank you.
One more to go.
You too.
Thanks. Thanks, Josh. One more to go. So Pavel posted that it's a great concept on the SAP TechEd 2021 developer keynote. It has a vibe like an Apple conference mixed with a bit of a reality show. I can agree there. It was really, really, really a cool show. Even we can call it a show. And kudos to Rich Heilman, our SAP developer advocate, who kind of scripted that whole story a little.
Executive producer.
Our executive producer,
Yes.
Rich Heilman. Yeah.
Let's see what's coming up next.
Ooh, what is coming up next?
No, just wondering, just, let's see what's coming up next.
About the developer keynote?
I don't know.
Next year. What is coming up next year?
I'm not allowed to tell you what the plan is, but I will say that the budget is going to be bigger, and we're asking for pyrotechnics, and lots of explosions all over. But when
Can't take Josh too serious, please.
you two women have to put up with a lot. My apologies.
It was a rough couple of days.
We were more like weeks. A couple
No,
days
I enjoyed
on
it.
stage, but getting ready for this was just a nightmare, right?
No, it wasn't that bad.
I know, I'm a handful.
We'll go home and then miss you, Josh.
I already miss you. No, I look forward to this all
Yeah,
year,
sure.
and I will be tagging myself running when I get home and doing social media stuff as well, and I hope that you guys will still continue to follow me.
Yeah, you're getting ready for your half marathon, right?
Exactly,
So we'll all
yes.
have the fingers crossed.
That's kind of a good lead into our next segment, but before we leave, is there anything else, Lena, you want to say, or just goodbye?
I'll have another social media check-in later on, so you'll see me again. And for now, have a good one. I'll see you later.
Thank you
Thanks,
so
Lena.
much for the
Thank you.
check-in. See you.
Always good to have you with us.
So we started talking about my running there for a second. So I'm very intimidated, and I'm not happy
come
with
on.
no, the preparation that I've done isn't. I've been working hard for Tech Ed, and I joke about being hard to deal with. And it's a joke, right? I'm self-deprecating, but I also have been trying to run a little bit. And one of my friends asked me, "How is your training going for the half marathon?" And it's 13.1 miles. I've run that distance before, but never for timing, and I don't care about my time. I did have a bone bruise, which was like a pain in my ankle, so that social media post, when you can't run and you miss it, it's very frustrating. So got back into running, and I'm gonna be flying home tomorrow, and then I wake up on Saturday and go for a long run for a few hours in Philadelphia. But I don't always do a good job stretching before I run and after, so.
It's very important.
Yeah, so maybe when we get to our activity break in a second, it'll help teach me how to do that. It's something that I know it when I'm standing there. I'm like, I need to stretch, I need to get ready to run, but you're outside, and if it's cold, you just want to start moving.
But don't you get aches after you're running?
I do. I'll get a cramp, and my calf muscles on my leg, I'll have to stop and stretch. And if you're trying to run for time, you've ruined it, because now you've stopped, and you actually, all the work and preparation you did, because you didn't stretch enough ahead of time and you didn't focus on your body, you actually hurt yourself more. So it's important to stretch before you run and after. And if you hurt during it, stop. Like, listen to your body. That's something I've learned. I've gotten older. I'm not old, but I've gotten older. Thanks, Britt. Britt's out there somewhere, and he was teasing me. So I have friends on the SAP network, and they tease me about anything I say. So anyway.
So that means you have to stretch,
Yes.
take care of yourself, nutrition, sleep, everything.
For
I feel like
sure.
stretching too now. Now that you talked about stretching, we should be stretching.
I think we'll have to get up and stretch in a minute.
I know. I can't wait for the video.
Okay.
It's just so good to have that activity break while sitting all the time, and you guys probably know that as well.
Yeah, no. I mean, maybe we'll be able to get up in a second and move around.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
But for now, let's throw to the video of doing an activity break at your desk. Let's roll the video.
Hi guys, my name is Joanna and I'm the personal trainer based here in SAP Dublin. I'm delighted to be with you guys today to hopefully show you some exercises that you can bring during your day to break up those long bouts of inactivity, especially if you're sitting at your desk all day. Most of us, as you already know, have been working from home or a hybrid of working from home or in the office over the last year and a half or so. And while that's been fantastic that we've been able to do that, the downside of that is that we've been spending a lot more time seated and a less time moving. So one of the reasons some people have said to me that they kind of forget about moving, or they kind of don't realize that they've been sitting for so long, is that they get engrossed in their task or what they're doing. Suddenly 2-3 hours have disappeared and they've not moved from their seat. So the way that I would recommend to combat that or to get over that is to set a reminder on your PC, on your phone, just to go off maybe every 30 to 60 minutes or so, just as a kind of a reminder to kind of get up away from your desk, shake out your arms, shake out your legs, maybe take a walk around, maybe bring in some squats or some exercises, or maybe just do some gentle stretching for yourself, or even just maybe 2-3 moments to breathe. So with that in mind, I'm going to invite you today to come through just a small movement session with me. I'm going to go through some exercises that hopefully will help you to break up your inactivity during your day. So with that in mind, let's take a moment to just step away from our desk. So I'm going to invite you to stand up now, plant down through your feet, and standing up nice and tall, lengthen out through your spine. And the first exercise I'm going to show you today is going to be a neck roll. So we're going to release a little bit of the cervical spine here, cervical spine, and it can get quite tense and quite tight when we sit at our desks a lot of the time. So with that in mind, I'm going to demonstrate that movement for you now. And take it back to center. So that was your neck rolls. Again, just release into the cervical spine. The next one we're going to do is going to do a chest opener, just to release and open up the chest a little bit and bring some movement into our shoulders as well. So again, standing up nice and tall, planting down through your feet, roll the shoulders back, and we'll set up. So that was our chest opener. So you could do 3, even 4 or 5 rounds of that, and just make sure you get that nice squeeze into your shoulder blades when you bring those elbows back and down. And the next exercise we're going to move down to is our hips. We're going to start to mobilize into our hip joint a little bit now as well. Again, when we sit for long periods of time, that can get quite stuck. So it's nice to allow a little bit of mobilization and encourage that synovial fluid to come into those joints and lubricate them for yourself. So again, standing up nice and tall, again, planting down through the feet, soft bend through the knees. Awesome, so that was our nice hip circles. And again, you can make those circles as big or as small as your body allows you to do them. The next exercise, we're going to do a little bit of strengthening, a bit more activation into our glutes a little bit. So we're going to bring in the squat to stand. So this is an everyday movement. And again, most important points on this is taking your feet just slightly over shoulder width apart. You might like to turn your toes out a little bit, but if you are, make sure that the knees are tracking in line with the second toe. Also, you want to make sure that the weight goes back towards your heels and your chest is up nice and tall too. Awesome, so that was your squat to stand. The next exercise we're going to go through again is a little bit more of a hip opener as well, and again a little bit more of a shoulder extension too. So it's called a lunge into reach. You can use the chair for balance if you need to, or you can do it freestanding, whichever way you prefer. Feet are on train tracks and hips stacked over in the center of your body, spine nice and tall. Just remember, guys, just to go as far as your body will allow you to go. No forcing at any stage during your session. So guys, the next part of this practice is just a little bit of breath work. I'm just going to show you a little bit of breath work just to finish off. So I invite you now to sit down in your chair, sit towards the edge of the seat, lengthen through your spine. So grow nice and tall through your spine as you root down through your sit bones. Place your hands on your lap. They can be face up, face down. Roll the shoulders for a moment to open up that chest. And I'm going to invite you to breathe in through your nose, if it's available to you. If you're blocked up, that's okay, you can use your mouth. But if you can, in through your nose and breathe down into the belly. So we're going to focus on that diaphragmatic breath. So inhaling in through the nose, pausing, and then exhale, just let it release, let it go. And again, in through the nose once again. Pausing, and again, just letting it go. Last one now, deepest breath you take. Pause, and gently just let it all go. And then when you feel ready, gently open the eyes if you have them closed and return back to your desk. As you can see, there's loads of different ways that you can bring movement into your day, but it doesn't have to be as structured as that. You can also bring in ways of moving without even thinking about it. Something simple like filling a smaller glass of water or a smaller water bowl will make you have to get up off your chair and refill it more times during your day. Other ideas can be using the kitchen as a tool to get moving. So when you're waiting on the kettle to boil to have your cup of tea or your coffee in the morning, maybe bust out a few squats, maybe a few press-ups. You might like to do a little bit of stretching. Again, there's loads of different ways that you can get creative with it. The one that I really love is by bringing some music into it. So I love to have a bit of a dance. So I play my favorite tunes, the alarm goes off, play my favorite tune for that day, and I just have a bit of a dance. Just 3-4 minutes, not thinking about it, just moving in what way it feels good to me. And it's amazing the difference mentally and the focus it brings and the good form it puts me in. So it's all really about being creative and moving in ways that feel good for you and your body and empower you. So loads of endless possibilities in that. The main thing to be aware of is just allow yourself to have fun with it, guys. So I really hope that you found this beneficial, and I really hope you enjoy the rest of your event. Thank you so much for watching. And remember, guys, motion is the lotion.
Always dancing with myself.
Look at this. This is what you can do if you don't want to stretch. Just see what Josh does.
Menina wouldn't dance with me.
Get your own
So
bubble
dancing
head
with Josh.
and have the floor.
Well, stretching was good, but it got my energy level up, so I had to start moving.
I think after a few hours, I see you running around,
Yeah.
ready for your run. And
I don't know if you saw me in the
States.
hallway. I was dancing. I was moving outside. I put music on. I get ready to go.
I tried to ignore it, I think, because it was irritating me. But
I'm sitting down then.
no, it's good. I like it.
I can't stand that.
I'm not sure if the
I
audience...
needed a dance partner. I had to bring in little bobblehead Josh.
Come on. You always like to have Josh around.
I do.
Yeah.
You can't get enough Josh.
Oh,
Maybe you
God,
can.
time flies. We have 2 more hours. We have 2 more hours, and then we're gone. So that's really sad, but we're still around. So I hope you enjoyed the community talks, the dancing with Josh and Josh Bubblehead. We'll be around for another hour with Diptoberfest.
My team is going to make me a meme yet again, so I have
And
no
it's
idea.
not about Diptoberfest.
Well,
it's about your dancing then.
Exactly. Next year's Devtoberfest theme, we just leaked it. The entire theme is dancing. So every code that you write has to have something related to dancing.
Next Devtoberfest. Well, stay tuned. We have another highlight video of SAP TechEd and Channel 1. Stay with us. We have the Devtoberfest coming up.
Yeah, it's going to be a great hour.
See you in a bit.
A good morning, a good evening, a good afternoon, wherever you are located in the world. Thank you so much for tuning back in with us here in the studio, live now, back in Frankfurt. How are you today?
Good, good. I had my morning coffee.
I can't believe we're already to the last day of SAP TechEd.
Right,
It's been
isn't it crazy?
a wild ride.
Yeah, just wait till I say the bad words later. Right.
Let's watch the video.
Prying off the front grille, however, exposes its 2 speaker drivers, and from what I was told by the previous owner, they sounded rattly when they did. I saved these wooden barrels that a brand was using to sell their coffee in. I hope this video has inspired you on the process of upcycling, and I hope you have fun upcycling things rather than throwing them away.
Awesome.
There's 2 different groups. There's the mentor group, and then there's the, oh my goodness, I forgot
The
name of the other group.
champions.
Thank you.
Yeah. Wow, impressive, right?
Definitely impressive. Like all the
Yeah.
experience you have.
We both started as students.
We both did.
I think it takes us back. It's a little bit
Right.
nostalgic as well to see
Right.
them and to go, oh, I remember those feelings. I remember being in that position. And you're so nervous at first, but then you so quickly just become immersed in,
Right.
exactly. And
Just
really people take you under their
Yeah.
wing and bring you in and make you feel like you're a part of the family right from the start. And I guess that's why both you and I were still here.
Actually, you guys, that is your last
It is our
appearance on stage.
Our
I
last
know,
appearance for
I
this year's
know.
TechEd.
That is sad.
How are you
It was a
feeling
great
about
time. It was amazing, really. I mean, I'm a loss for words for how much fun we've been having. Great to be with you as my lovely co-host.
I'll see you later, guys.
See you later. That was really.
Hi everyone, my name is Kim and I do communications for cross engineering in HANA database and analytics. The past few months I've had the great honor to be part of the content team for Channel 1 and I cannot wait to see this event going live finally and seeing what the whole team has been working on over the past months. I was responsible for all the fun elements within Channel 1 and my research was also really fun. Let me show you how I prepared for activity breaks, influencer interviews, and all the fun things we have planned for you. Well, I really hope you have fun at TechEd. connect with some colleagues, grab a coffee, lean back, and just enjoy.